So I'm switching shifts, so I'm still going to be working kind of at night, but it's going to be a second shift instead of the late shift. So more like 2 to 12 instead of 5 to 5. That's kind of good. I'll get my weekends off now. Well, part of it at least. Saturday and Sunday. And then, you know, I don't know, maybe I'll leave her that Friday every once in a while just to treat myself. I'm making a lot of videos here again soon. I think I'm going to have the time to do it. And the resources and some help. And I miss making videos because it was always something to do. Like, I could always get creative with it, you know. I was never trying, you know, crazy things or whatever. I was just, you know, it was more of like a day-to-day kind of creativity, you know. I get a similar thing, which is what I recorded, and then I just have to figure out how I want to put it, like, you know, express it. So I think that's going to start up a lot more videos, not just Kyle's X1, but, you know, probably like some Kyle Arcade videos, and maybe some like smashing videos. I told you, but I got accepted to school. I'm going to start going to school. It is, and it's not an online school, but I'm taking online classes. I don't really have time to, you know, go to school on the normal schedule. So I thought I would do a quick little top 5, because I was thinking about this the other day. That's not what I feel passionate about, but I you know, it's interesting to talk about it because you don't hear about it a lot. But I'm going to do my top 5 biggest fudge ups in video game history. So number 5, any Fable game ever. Creator Fable, the executive producer, I can't remember exact time. I think his name is Peter Mullen. And every time they release a Fable game, he amps it up to this unreachable thing. You can't even, like, books haven't been written as good as these games were supposed to be. And you know what? They're not bad. They're not bad games. It's just nowhere even close to what they were supposed to be. And I think it could have been riveting too. I think they rushed it because they were so hyped about it and people wanted it and they didn't want people to forget about it. I mean, I remember that was one of the first video games I remember seeing for a commercial. Like, you know, the changing economy, they said that would, you know, play an effect. Or that would have, they said that would have an effect. They said, you know, you would notice the day-to-day lives of people, and they had like 3 games to really do that, and I never saw, I mean, there's slight minimal improvements every time, but the first one was like ground zero, so I mean, I don't know, they overhyped it a lot. 4, LA Noire. It is a detective game. You do exactly what a detective at that time would do, you know, going around collecting evidence, interviewing people, and it was really revolutionary. It still is. I mean, I really like the game, but I think they really messed up on the fact that everything kind of just led to this end where, you know, it didn't matter. Your other cases tied into the end, but it didn't matter how you solved them, if you solved them well or not, which kind of just bothered me. It's like, so even if I sucked as a detective, it doesn't matter because it led me to this huge realization at the end. Like, I don't know, that kind of bothered me, and I feel like, I don't know if it's laziness, lack of money, or just lack of creativity with the gaming industry, but it's like, come on, if you're watching a movie and you're sitting there and you're wondering how all of these decisions that the main character made or all the events that led up to it, how could it affect these last 15 to 20 minutes of this movie? Like, what are we gonna see? Like, oh, he should have done that if he had done that. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen. So you're thinking of all these different things that could happen. And in video games, you should be able to see all of those things because you can change them throughout playing. And games like that, and there's a few other games that I'm blanking on right now that nothing changed. Number 3 is Deus Ex Human Revolution. It's kind of a newer game. I don't know if you played it. It's really cool. It's like this detective style role-playing game where it's this realistic kind of interpretation of the future and human augmentation. What's cool about it is when you actually gain experience and turn it into, you know, your abilities and increasing them, it actually kind of makes sense. You know, you don't just learn to jump higher in real life, but in this you do, because you know you can implement that into your robotic legs or whatever. The problem I had with it is the gaming company that made it, which made it an amazing game, one of my favorite games as of late. I'm pretty sure they outsourced all of the boss battles. First, if it didn't even have boss battles, it wouldn't bother me, because it's not that, it doesn't seem like that kind of game. Well, it did have boss battles, and they outsourced them, meaning someone else did them, and so this other company that had no real input, I guess, on the rest of the game is now making these boss battles. So you really don't employ all the stuff that you learn to do in these boss battles. It's just a traditional, big hulking character, or the similar kind of thing that you would think. And they shoot big rockets, and you have to attack them at an appropriate time, and it was just lame. Like, I didn't get to use any of the stuff that I made my character excellent at. I actually have two honorable mentions. One, because I want to mention why I didn't like the game that much, but I just have to mention it because I think it's ridiculous. I doubt most of you played this, but there was a few Matrix games, but one was strictly about Neo. It was called The Matrix Path of Neo, I think. It wasn't a bad game. You really felt powerful and cool. You felt like Neo in the Matrix movies, like, you could do the whole stopping bullets and everything like that, but they still made it like kind of challenging, which was cool. They made a pretty good game. The problem with it is that at the very end, they do this ridiculous little segment where the Wachowski brothers, or siblings, who made the Matrix universe, can't come in and say, hey, we wanted to make a cool game where you have an epic boss battle at the end. So they did something that wasn't in the movies, which, could be bad, could be good, but this was horrible. And they turned Agent Smith into a giant robot made of all the stuff around, and you had to like punch him and stuff. It was so dumb, and it was just dumb. Dang it! Can't remember the other honorable mention I was gonna say. It was a good one. I almost thought about like changing it and putting it. God, you're 14. Number 2 is the ending to Mass Effect 3. Now, if you've spent remotely 5 minutes on the internet in the past like 2 or 3 months, you probably heard that the Mass Effect 3 ending was awful. I don't know if it's lazy or lack of creativity or resources, but the ending is literally pretty much the same thing. You have, I think that they said like it's in the teens of how many endings they had, but literally there's really about one at them. If I'm being generous, 3, and they just color them differently. It's the explanation for everything was really bad. It didn't really seem final. It seemed like you just got shafted. Like, all the stuff you've been doing this whole time, it didn't matter. It did not matter. We saw no direct consequences from the decisions that we made in the all 3 games that we played. And that game was made on, I think, 03 or 04 or something. So we spent a lot. Oh shit, my bad. We've spent a long time coming, waiting for this game, and then none of it mattered, is what they said to us. They said all of our choices matter, and up to that point, it was believable. And we had, there's evidence, like, you do these things for people, they said they'll help you in the long run, and then they keep saying that, and they say that, and they say that, and then at the very end, they may have, they may not have. You don't know. You just see this end cutscene, and the game's over. It was the worst. That Mass Effect 3 also was one of the greatest games I played up until the last 5 to 15 minutes. And my number 1 is and I've talked about this before, I think, that LucasArts decided they made my two favorite, well, they made 2 out of my top 5, top 10 favorite games of all time, in Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, which is probably my number 1, and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, which is, you know, it's up there. It's not as good as first. And they caught me in with the story. It's one of their best stories yet. I mean, it's up there with the original Star Wars trilogy. And then years went by, and we're all waiting for the next Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic game, and to finish the story. You know, will the exile be Revan? Will we see Revan? Will we play as the exile or Revan again? Well, you know, and then they're like, oh, well, there's rumors. They're gonna wait till the next generation comes out. Well, next generation comes out, still no game. Then we hear rumors that they're going to announce a new Star Wars game, and it's an Old Republic game. Then we find out that it is a massive multiplayer online role-playing game. And I've seriously just never been that disheartened about a video game. I couldn't believe that I felt that way about a video game. I mean, it shouldn't. It's a video game. But the story, they were such phenomenal games, and they were kind of different from everything else, you know, because it was the best an RPG could offer, but it was the Star Wars universe, and you can't beat that. Star Wars it's Star Wars, okay? And then you add in, you know, you get to be a Jedi, and you get to be what kind of Jedi? You can be a Sith, and there's all these different endings, and you can turn some people into Jedi, and I mean, you can do whatever, all this fun stuff. And I mean, you couldn't do whatever you want. You couldn't go around just shooting people, but I'm glad they did that. Like, some people say it handicapped it, but I was just like, you know what? I hate when people do that in games and just kill people for no reason. Like, what is the point? Like, you're supposed to try to be living out this story, and you want to live out this guy who just walks around killing people in the street, whatever. The reason why I think it's a fudge up, I keep saying fudge up, that's ridiculous. The reason why, though, is for, you know, 2 reasons. One, like I've been saying, they've ruined what I had. They ruined a perfect formula. They would have made one, they could have made so many more of those, and I would have been happy. Instead, they took the easy road out and thought, well, if we make this one game that people have to pay subscriptions to, we can end up making more money. Smart business plan, right? Well, it was wrong. Apparently, from just what the little bit I've read on it, because I tried to stay away from it because I was so mad that they didn't make a 3rd one. Well, their sales are not near what they expected. People are canceling subscriptions left and right, which I'm sorry to say, but I'm glad. Hopefully it'll change their mind into going back and making a 3rd one, because it's just, it's horrible. So yeah, guys, I would love to see what you think are your top 5 biggest fudge ups in gaming history. Like I said, it's your interpretation. You can make it about, you know, what the developers missed out on, or you can make it on your favorite glitches, whatever. You know, just be a little liberal with it. Take some artistic liberations. I know not everybody plays video games, and I know that, you know, a lot of people don't play. I want you guys to leave me a top 5 to talk about, because I don't always talk about what you guys want to talk about. So please leave me something to list. I would love to do that, and we could talk about something that you guys really do want to talk about. So like someone's thing if you want me to do a top 5. But that's about it, because, well, I'm about 2 minutes from work and can't record in there. So it was good talking to you, cats. I don't know why I called you cats. I'm so sorry. I won't do it again.